K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and you're watching another episode of SportsMinute. Tonight with me, I have a great group of gentlemen with me tonight, my co-hosts for the evening. Number one, let's introduce that man. That's right, the bald guy. That's on, well, I would say left, but he's actually on the right of me for you watching the screen. So, Big B, how you doing?
Doing good. Just got off of our debut episode of In the Den with the Cougars. Check that out when you can. But it's always good to sit back and chat some sports. So I can't wait.
And then, of course, we have the man that's right below us. It's the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. James Gonzalez. How you doing?
Okay. Just finished eating something. I had a long work day, and I'm ready to get into these topics.
All right. Thank you, James. Thank you for that very much so. All right, well, first off, the first topic that I have for is, James, this actually revolves around your team because we saw this. Derek Carr officially getting released from the Las Vegas Raiders. It was weird because, they kind of had no option because he did come out and say, you know what, he was not gonna accept a trade to New Orleans. He basically wasn't gonna accept a trade anywhere. So they said, okay, we're gonna release you, and now he's officially released. So now that he's officially released, my question is, do you guys think he ends up in New Orleans? Do you think he ends up somewhere else? So since this is your favorite team that released him, what do you think happens with Derek Carr?
I think he has to wait for others to go wherever they go. So it's Rodgers, it's Jimmy G, it's Lamar Jackson, and then he'll make his choice. But the thing is, there's a lot of quarterback movement that's going to happen. And I believe Derek Carr will either go to the Jets, to the Panthers, to the Falcons, to the Saints. It's one of those teams. I think he fits well with the Jets. I really do. I don't believe that Aaron Rodgers will go to the Jets. There's still part of me thinks he's going to stay with the Packers, that he's just playing us all again. So I think it all starts with Rodgers, and then Derek Carr will end up where he's going to go. The thing is, the Raiders, they always do this with any situation, and make everything so difficult. And you know what they say, like the breakup is the hardest thing to do. Well, whenever this was going to happen with Derek Carr and the Raiders, it's going to be the hardest and the most awkward. He didn't want to give him anything, not picks or anything for him leaving, because he's been tormented being there with all different coaches, different playbooks, different coordinators, different players. No defense pretty much his whole tenure with the Raiders, all those 9 years. They never had a top 20 defense. So when you think about that, he always had to come back in games. That's why he led so many times with the comebacks. But it'd be so much better if he didn't have to go through all that. So he didn't want to give the Raiders any good farewell. He just wanted to leave. So I don't blame him. But it puts the Raiders in a tough position, because I read that in order for the Raiders to get Aaron Rodgers, they would need to give up a first rounder, third rounder, and fifth rounder. So with that being said, I don't know how they're going to get Rodgers, but they're going to have to spend a lot for it, and it's what they would think Derek Carr is going to get. And Chrissy's right. He did a lot of good, but there was also a lot of bad, but you could blame the team for it as well. So there's just blame all over the place, and it's really depressing.
Right, all right. Big B, your thoughts on the situation with Derek Carr?
Well, he said he wasn't going nowhere, so he kind of forced the Raiders' hand just to release him, so they got nothing for him, which in the long run could be good or bad. I mean, granted, you would have liked to got some picks for somebody on a contract, but, they released him. where he goes, I think James is right. He's going to be like the fifth, sixth option. When teams start signing quarterbacks, and it's going to be Rodgers first. See if they can get them. Lamar Jackson's probably going to be number 2, and then Trey Lance, over there in San Fran might get some calls, and then if they can't, then okay, what's Derek Carr going to cost? I think with him though, I think it's actually towards the end of the year when they benched him, and he's like, well, I'm not going to show up the last few games then, So it shows that he's not a team player unless he's behind the center. So I think that's going to hurt him. I think it's going to take. We probably won't see him sign until probably closer to preseason time when everything's kind of get finalized and stuff. But it still wouldn't shock me if he doesn't get signed, because a lot of teams are going younger, and there ain't too many teams looking for a quarterback right now. So it'll be interesting. He might be a preseason signing when somebody goes down with an injury. So
Big V, I would love to agree with you on that, but I can't. And the reason why I can't agree with you on that is simply because Derek Carr hasn't been the greatest, but he hasn't been the worst. And I
totally get that.
And there's plenty of teams out there that I think would look at Derek Carr and be like, do I go with the current situation I have, or do we take a chance on Derek Carr? And I think that a lot of teams would actually go out there and be like, you know what, I'm going to take our chance on Derek Carr. Now, as far as saying that he's probably the 5th best option out there, I kind of disagree to a certain degree. And the only reason I'm saying I disagree to a certain degree is I personally feel like he's actually better than Jimmy G. I really do.
Too. I do too.
So I really believe that Derek Carr would get signed before Jimmy G would. Jimmy G just happened to be in a great situation in San Fran to where their defense has just been stellar. And, Jimmy G hasn't had to do a whole lot to win games in San Fran because that team was so good. I mean, they went through 3 different quarterbacks this year, and every quarterback was winning because of that defense. So it's and that's where it's and that's why, to me, I look at Derek Carr and I'm like, where could Derek Carr end up going? So, James, I'm kind of on board with you to when you're talking about the Jets. Maybe the Jets are a potential team because I know you're saying that, the Raiders would have to give up, a first, a third, and a fifth. From the reports I've got from the Packers sites that I'm in and the writers for Green Bay and everything, they came out and they actually said that Green Bay is looking for, if they were to trade them, they're actually looking for a couple first-round picks. So they want like two first-round picks and at least a third-round pick. So they're actually looking for quite a bit in return. It's going to be hard to find that team that's going to be able to give up a couple first-round picks because a lot of teams don't have those first-round picks to give up. Las Vegas might be one of them who potentially could, because the first round pick that you gave up last year for Devontae, that was last year. So you do have a first round pick this year. So you
number 7. Number 7.
Yeah. So you could potentially give up that pick. You potentially could if you really were trying to get him. And but I do see Derek Carr signing. Jets could be one. The Saints, because he met with the Saints. So I don't know if there was something when he was there that didn't go well, because he did say that he wasn't going to accept a trade there. Maybe it's because you're right, James. Maybe he just didn't want to give anything to the Raiders. Maybe that's exactly what it was.
He was early for Mardi Gras.
He was early for Mardi Gras, right? So he did meet with the Saints. Maybe he ends up going there. But to me, the right situation, and I know this is going to sound really weird, but the right situation might be the Jets, only because a great young receiving core, a great defense. I just feel like that would be a great situation for Derek Carr. Any other thoughts on the Derek Carr saga?
Thanks for
that's it. I do think that the Jets would be a good fit for Carr. Get that experience in there. They got a young quarterback that can kind of learn from him. I mean, he is a veteran. To me, I guess I'm going to do my homework before, see how big of a cancer he was in the locker room because, be a pro athlete and say, oh, I'm going to sit out, stay home the last couple games. I mean, it doesn't look good. So, but no, I agree with you guys. I think the Jets are going to be.
He wasn't really a cancer. It was just like, oh, well, I guess you don't need me anymore. You're going to bench me the last couple of weeks when there still was a chance to make the playoffs. I think a lot of players feel sorry for him because a lot of them have left. A lot of them, weren't so good around him. So I don't think it was ever a cancer. I just think that everybody knew he was sick of all the changes in management and coaching throughout the years that he was there. And everybody needs a break. And I think that was the case.
And maybe cancer was the wrong word because I know there's a lot of people that cause a lot of trouble. Maybe, maybe it was just a frustration. He's just like, okay, you bet you. And maybe that's what it is. That's why I would do my homework and find out what side am I on. Because right now, no matter how big of a quarterback I wouldn't sign him right away. But
right.
It's right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see exactly which way this ends up going, and how quickly he signs somewhere when free agency starts. We could be sitting here saying that he may not be signing for a while, but who's to say that for some weird reason, like the Saints have a deal in place already with Derek Carr, and we just don't know about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now that they don't have to pay nothing for him besides his contract, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that might be even because now they're like, hey, we might get him for even cheaper. So all right. Well, moving on from there, I know, Big B, you said you actually didn't see this today until we had mentioned it prior to hopping on for the Cougars Den. But the thing that we're talking about is Jacob deGrom again. So the report came out that Jacob deGrom felt shoulder tightness again, and so in the past, like I was always like, people always came after me when I said the biggest knock on Jacob deGrom was that Jacob deGrom could not stay healthy.
Yep.
And then Mets fans would come at me and be like, "What are you talking about? The dude pitches all the time. I don't know what you're talking about." And I'm like, "No, dude. The guy is not healthy. Like Jacob deGrom cannot stay healthy." And this shows you again, like the season hasn't even started and he's feeling shoulder tightness already. And the Rangers just signed him in free agency. So, Big B, I'll go to you on Jacob deGrom. Should this be a concern for the Texas Rangers?
For what they paid for him, heck yeah, it should be a concern. I mean, I haven't looked at the stats. I know he hasn't had a full season. I mean, granted, pitcher pitches every 5 days, 6 days if you're some teams, but you get 30 starts in there, and I don't think he's pitched more than 20 over the last few years. So, it's a concern of mine. And honestly, I've said it before with a couple other pitchers, maybe go to the bullpen, to get your reps in, be long relief if you need a spot starter, but get into the bullpen, work an inning or two here and there, get your strength back, make sure you're healthy. It worked for John Smoltz. It's worked for a couple other pitchers. Go in and work a few, work 2-3 days in a row, get a couple innings in, and then go back and start the following year. But make sure that injuries. But yeah, if I'm the Rangers fans and the team, and yes, it's not even preseason. A lot of pitchers are reporting today. That's kind of a concern of mine right now to see how long this is going to last. I mean, hopefully he's ready for week 1.
All right, James, how about you?
I'm not surprised, but I'm just thinking about it too because I was reading about what Chris Young, the GM, who was funny, he pitched for Bruce Bochy, who is the manager now of the Rangers in San Diego. So it's kind of funny how all this is, how they came together in Texas anyway, though. Yeah, he's got the left side tightness, and he felt the tightness during a bullpen session earlier this week. And he's held as a precaution because the weather has been cooler, coming from where I am to Arizona. You got to think about it, too. When he had spring training, he's only had it in Florida where it's humid.
Yep.
But in Arizona right now, what I've had is cold weather. That's going to Arizona. But I heard the team isn't really terribly concerned. He could always hurt something else, in spring training and throughout the year. But they expect him to go for opening day. So they say that he would have played through this injury if it was the regular season. So that leads me to believe it's just some tightness. It's not too much of a worry right now. But once you get into the regular season, and they really need him, and they really paid a lot for him, he's got to make some starts. But it's never good news, it seems like, with DeGrom and his body.
Right? Yeah, it's never. And so that's why I think, honestly, I think that's why when the Rangers paid DeGrom what they paid him, a lot of teams kind of backed off because teams were like, well, I don't want to pay that much because we don't know how much we're going to get out of him. That was the big concern. It's like, okay, we don't know what the heck we're going to get. So we're not going to pay him that much. And then the Rangers took that gamble, and now we're kind of seeing maybe, just maybe, this might be the only thing this season that happens to him. Maybe the Rangers are kind of hoping, but it's not off to a very good start. And so that's got to be concerning.
And here's the stats for the last 3 years when the injuries started happening. 2020, of course, it was shortened, but he was 4-2 in 12 starts, 68 innings. Last 2021, he did make the All-Star, but he was hurt. 7-2 with a 1.8 ERA, 15 starts, 92 innings. And then last year, 11 starts, 5-4 record, and he pitched 64 in the third inning. So, yeah, you definitely got to watch those injuries.
Well, yeah, because you can clearly see the last 3 years he hasn't even sniffed 100 innings.
Yeah, and right, the Rangers have taken a big gamble because they've seen what he's done. I mean, when he's in, the guy's lights out. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
So it's a gamble. I guess it's a win-lose because it's what, a 5-year deal, 4 or 5-year deal.
I think it was a 5-year. I think.
Yeah. So if he's healthy, a big one. If he's not, it's going to be a big L for them.
I mean, it's a gamble, and sometimes they pay off, and sometimes they don't. And so it's so I think with the Rangers, it's the hoping for them that it pays off. That's what it boils down to. All right. Well, I guess we can go into our next topic, and this next topic is one that it's hard for probably any of us to talk about because we're just not a true fan. We're not and I'm not saying of the sport, we're not a true fan of this individual. And you probably know where I'm going with this a lot because people have been talking about this for the last week, and now it came out that they're going to have they're actually going to have a ceremony for him at the All-Star game. So, and in the NBA All-Star game, the NBA is going to actually have a ceremony for LeBron James at the All-Star game. And so, James, what's your thoughts on this?
Who? They just had a ceremony and he didn't play. The next Laker game on that Thursday when they faced, I don't remember whom. Oh, Milwaukee. Last week they had a big ceremony before the game. I think they're overdoing it. I'm trying to remember when. I know the next night after Kareem in Las Vegas made the hook shot and passed Wilt up, they had a ceremony for him the next day in LA, and nothing else at the All-Star game.
Right.
I know that Kareem was voted in. Well, not voted in, but he was able to get in because there was an injury to someone his last season, and I think they had a farewell. He had a farewell tour. This doesn't tell me that LeBron's going to retire. He's going to play out his contract the next 2 years. But that just feels like they're overdoing it. I know it's a big spectacle, and it probably, I don't think anyone will ever pass him up, because I don't think anybody ever thought someone would play as long as he has. I don't think anyone now playing will play as long as LeBron will. So maybe they're seeing it with like, hey, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and we should continue to honor it. But it's overdoing it. It's. I don't think he's even playing in the. Yeah, he's not playing in the All-Star game. I don't think, because he's injured right now. So, I guess if he's not going to play, you have to honor him somehow, and he can come out and center court and whatever, and go from there. But since he's not going to play, it's easier just to take the spotlight in that way.
Well, he's going to get the spotlight no matter what. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Big B, I hate to do this to you, but, you got...
Well, I mean, just kind of compare the stats, quickly here between the two. I mean, the biggest difference is going to be the 3-point shootings, because we all know Kareem only shot one. I think it was 0 for 1. Or he made
one out of.
He made one.
Okay, so he made one.
Yeah.
So 3 points. So looking at LeBron here, I mean, he's currently, let me pull up the right stat here. 3 points. So, oh wait, no, that's field goals. 3 points attempt, 3-point percentage. So, he's, a 337 or 344 career 3-point shooter. He's averaging, between 2 makes a game and 4 attempts over 20 some years when the 3 points been in play. So that's, that plays a big factor into LeBron. I mean, you're a scorer. James, you're right. We're not probably going to see this record be broken again in our lifetime. I mean, give him props, because of the 3 points. He did it in less games than the Kareem. Same amount of years. But, I mean, it's a different ball game. I mean, and not saying that we have to have, like, different record books for each style of game, but to this we got to, because, Kareem played from, I think it was 1980 to the end of his career with the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Where LeBron's played his whole career with the 3-point line. I can't take nothing away from him. I mean, he did it. He's in the record books. There's no asterisk next to it. But it's a totally different game. And for him to get, 20 different ceremonies out there, at the All-Star game, at home, they'll probably do something in Cleveland when he goes back there. I still can't consider him the GOAT because it's a different era, but, props to him. I can't argue. He's the all-time leading scorer. There's nothing to argue about unless we take the 3-point shot away, and then we can talk.
And props to Kareem for doing it the hard way, getting free the hard way.
Right.
Just banging in the post the whole time.
Yep.
And the game back then, it was always catered to the big man. So that's the reason I scored so much. And now it's funny though. LeBron didn't really use the 3-point shot until his Miami career.
Yep.
And then,
towards the end of his Miami career, he was about 3 to 4 shots a game. So
Yeah.
now he's using it like it's normal to him. It's just the way that the Warriors have ruined the game now, where everybody agrees.
Yeah, and and people ask me, when comparing Michael Jordan and LeBron James, like what are some differences there? And I said, well, you know what? some differences between Michael and LeBron is, Michael Jordan was that all around player. Like, one thing that Michael Jordan has over LeBron is Michael Jordan was one of the best defenders
Yep.
in the NBA also. Like Michael Jordan was not just a shooter. Like he played flat out stellar defense. And that's like he's been defensive player of the year. LeBron James never has been. And so I was like, that's something that Jordan has over him. And so that's why I've always said, I've been with you, Big B. I truly feel like, there is no true GOAT because of different eras. You can go back to, like you said, with Kareem, who kind of did it, the real way without any threes whatsoever, except for that one in his career. Like you can go generation by generation, and they're going to tell you somebody different. The older generation is going to tell you Kareem or Wilt. Some of them might say Wilt, and then Kareem, and then after that, some people might tell you it's like Magic Johnson or Larry Bird, and then after that, they'll tell you it's Michael Jordan. Then after that, some might tell you it's like Kobe Bryant, and then LeBron James. So it really depends on what era you're actually in.
I always go by decade.
Yeah, I would say every 10 years is a good way to go because the game's changed.
Yeah, it really has been. And then we know it's going to change more. It's going to be a never-ending, consistently changing game. And so, we never know next what's going to change about it. We don't know. And so that's the biggest thing. Is like we want to see what is going to be next to change about the game of basketball.
I'm scared to know.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. No. I'm right. I'm right there with you because we know it's going to be never. We know it's going to be never ending, and it's just there's nothing we can do about it unless we find that consistent commissioner that says, "Hey, we're going to keep basketball the way it is. We're not going to mess with anything. We're not going to do this or whatever." And yeah. So
I'm looking right now at the top at the NBA's all-time scoring list. Is Carmelo Anthony still playing? Bench
No,
work
he's
no. He is done. Okay,
free agent.
I was catching that one. Okay, so Kevin Durant's number 14, at about 35,000. No, I'm sorry, about 26,000 points. After that, let's see here. Chris Paul's number 38 at 21,000 points. And I believe that's it for the top 50 that I see that are active right now that jump off the page at me. But none of them are going to hit it because they're getting towards the end of their career. So
right, yeah.
It's going to have to be another high school kid that's a phenomenon that plays 1 year in college, comes into the league when he's 20, and then just lights it up again.
And that's the thing. LeBron came in as a high schooler, and now you can't do that anymore.
You got 1 year removed.
Yeah, that's what makes it tough to like compare Kareem to LeBron and all that, because Kareem had to do it the hard way going to college all those years, and he still made all those points. I don't care how many years he played.
He played 20 years, so that's that's about the only comparison you really have is they both played 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I definitely get it. But speaking of NBA, just recently we had the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. Some big time moves were made. There was big moves, and I'll tell you right now, I think the Phoenix Suns right now are definitely one team like you really got to watch out for, because that team from top to bottom right now is completely loaded with Ayton and Chris Paul and Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. I mean, come on, man! I'm telling you, that's going to be a scary team. So, Big B, I'll start out with you. Were the Suns the team that won the trade deadline in the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting fourth. They added a superstar. Number two, if they can get it together, would be Dallas, I think. Getting who they got, but it seems like they can't get together right now. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. So, but yeah, Phoenix is going to be a scary team to watch. I mean, they can make a move if all those pieces can play together.
They can, and I know that the one thing that I wanted to, mention too is everybody knows I'm a Pistons fan, and the one thing is that shocked me is I legitimately thought that the Pistons were just going to be like, hey, we're going to pack it in, we're going to offload a bunch of. They didn't do that. They actually started going out and actually trading for Wiseman and that, and I'm like, all right, well, Wiseman hasn't been as good as he was supposed to be coming in. Maybe a change of scenery might help him out a little bit more. We shipped out Sadiq Bey. That might, that's going to be hit and miss because I know Sadiq Bey wasn't quite. He was a good shooter, but he had that tunnel vision. He didn't pass very well, and so I'm hoping that Wiseman can really step up, and we kept Bogdanovich, which was huge. I really thought I thought he was gone. I certainly forgot he was gone, and we kept him, and I was like, holy cow! All right, so the Pistons have not packed it in yet. So I'm hoping that when Cunningham comes back next year, we're gonna be good again. Did they win the deadline? No, I'm not saying that. To me, Big B, I think you're really close. So I think the Mavericks could have been one of those teams that could have potentially been really close to winning the deadline also. But I have to look at the Suns, and I really feel like the Suns may have won that deadline. So, James Gonzalez, how about you?
Going to the Eastern Conference, and part of that Suns Nets trade, they also had a Bucks Pacers deal with that. So Jay Crowder, going from the Suns, who was not used at all this year, basically put him on the shelf. They traded him to Milwaukee, and that makes him even stronger. When you have to guard certain people, he's the one to do it. And Bucks didn't really give up that much. It was George Hill, and Serge Ibaka, and Jordan Nwora, which they never really used, and then 3 second-round picks. It's like second-round picks are nothing compared to like
right
years. It's really weird. The Clippers, though, they kind of, I don't know, they kind of made me question what they were doing. They get Mason Plumlee. They get Eric Gordon back, who was a Clipper back in 2008.
Right.
But they give up Reggie Jackson. They give up Luke Kennard, both guys that can really shoot the three, who, when Kawhi Leonard was sitting out, when Paul George wasn't as good or sitting out, those two won them games with their long-range shooting. So that really surprised the heck out of me when that happened. Josh Hart adds some defensive help with the New York Knicks and some veteran leadership, if there is a thing like that anymore. John Wall goes back to the Rockets. He jumped on him this year. I don't think he'll ever play for him. Danny Green also goes to the Rockets, but I think both will. I think both have already bought out their time there, and they're going to go somewhere else. Let me see. Not really much else, other from what we talked about. The Lakers. Now, they tried getting some players. Mo Bamba, Davin Reed, D'Angelo Russell, which I heard he was starting to become a cancer there in the locker room in Minnesota. And eventually he was going to get moved. But going back to the Lakers is kind of odd. They also get Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt, which is fine. Right now, they're playing, but LeBron isn't. So it's weird to see, like, maybe it's not going to help if LeBron's not even going to play. I know the Timberwolves, Mike Conley, Jazz got Russell Westbrook, and eventually you knew Westbrook was going to get moved. And there were so many rumors coming about Russell Westbrook not being he was, quote, a vampire in the locker room where he would never be around or something. I didn't read the whole article, but when I think of vampire, I just think away from everyone, and I think it was. Not much else was done. Of course, what Big B mentioned with the Mavericks, it's a one-time deal here with Kyrie Irving, and then he's a free agent. Yep. This feels like when they acquired Rondo, and he quickly lost favor with the team. He'd always fight with Rick Carlisle, the coach, and they were ousted out right away in the playoffs that year when they acquired Rondo. So this feels like a Dallas move again, like Rondo getting Kyrie. And it's funny, they lost a game against Minnesota where they were basically passing it back to each other, and one was getting doubled, and they threw it away. And they needed a 3 to tie the game, and Minnesota ended up stealing the ball and winning. So you can see they're trying to work it out. And maybe in a couple of weeks they'll work it out in time for the playoff run. But I don't see that. I don't see that Dallas thing working.
But I did want to let you know, James, that LeBron is playing tonight. I was watching the game, and he is playing.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. He is playing tonight.
Never watched the Laker game.
And with the Minnesota trade, I mean, they were kind of hoping that Beasley would get a buyout because there was talk that they wanted to bring him back, but they couldn't facilitate the trade. But they were hoping that the Lakers would cut him because he's a good defensive player. But like James said, the second round picks were flying. Timberwolves got 3 of them, and granted the draft's only 2 rounds, so it might be a develop. But the Nets. If everything works out for them, I mean, they got a package.
Yeah, they did.
They got a 23 first rounder. They got a 25th, 27th, 28th from all Phoenix because you can't trade back-to-back first rounders. So, and the 28 one's a swap depending on who wants the better pick. And then they got a first rounder from Phoenix at 29. Yeah, it's just, I mean, the picks were flying, kind of like in football that we talk about. A lot of people aren't using the picks. They're using them more as assets instead of building blocks. So, but, yeah, the Suns, I think, definitely won out on this one.
By the way, in that Sadiq Bey trade, the Hawks sent 5 second-round picks to the Warriors in that big 4-team trade. 5 second-round picks to the Golden State Warriors. I've never seen that many second-round picks in one trade get ousted out. That's crazy.
So, Big B, I was going to actually ask you, though, and say, were you happy with what the T-Wolves did?
I don't know, because right now it's not playing out any better. They're so up and down right now. They got Cat hurt. How's he going to fit into the mix? They can't get into a groove with Gobert and everybody. So, I mean, hopefully we can get it after the break here, get into a run like they did last year. I mean, because they're only like a game and a half out of that 8th spot, so they wouldn't have to play the tournament game, or the playing game. But, lukewarm on it right now. I would say probably, I would say lukewarm once, hopefully everything starts gelling. But, I think next year is going to be a big offseason for the Wolves because I think Cat's probably on his way out.
Ooh, that's
him and Russell were boys, so you get rid of your boy. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to the Lakers, but it would not surprise me if they can show Cat's healthy. I think Cat will be out, and we could get a good decent package for him because he is a good player. So.
Oh, you're really throwing some things out there.
Yeah.
Wow. That was not what I was expecting you to say with Cat, though.
I hope they don't, but I I kind of see it. Listen to the media here and stuff. So,
All right. Well, going back to one quick thing here with when it comes to baseball, because we know that pitchers and catchers have currently reported.
yep.
Have you guys really thought about the teams that you think could actually come out and surprise this year? So, we can go one AL team, one NL team of the teams that you think could actually go out and surprise some people this year. So, James, I will go ahead and start with you.
Are we doing good or bad or both or whatever?
Both. We
Okay.
can do both.
So surprising good, surprising bad.
Yeah.
Give me, for the American League, give me Baltimore Orioles being good. And because it was great how they finished last year. And you figured they were going to maybe continue to build and continue to build. In the American League, though, maybe Cleveland gets off to a bad start. Maybe the Yankees. Maybe Tampa Bay. I can maybe see Tampa Bay regressing slightly. The Angels are the Angels. They're not gonna. Never mind. In the National League, surprisingly good. Sheesh. Maybe the Pirates or
Whoa.
me to start off well but not finish. Because they added some veteran talent, and I was a little shocked by it. And maybe they got some young guys coming up. They got a great stud at third base. We'll see what happens with that. I'm not going to say they're going to make the playoffs or anything, but maybe they start off really good. Throw Arizona in there too. They got some young talent coming up, and it just depends when they will. A team that gets off to a bad start and maybe a bad surprise, maybe the Dodgers, depending on health and depending on they lost a lot with Trey Turner, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger. Maybe the Dodgers will regress slightly. Philadelphia getting Turner, maybe Trey will start off bad and it will just domino effect really. So yeah, that's what I think.
All right. I think Big B and I are still shocked about the Pirates pick there.
Maybe like they'll start off well, but they'll know who they are.
Because I got one of those two on the AL side, but
all right, Big B. Then I'll go to you.
All right, I'm going to start in the NL. If they're healthy, I think the Padres are going to be a stellar team this year if they can stay healthy, get everybody.
But is that really a surprise though? Like,
yeah, I get what you're saying. So, well, it's surprising if they stay healthy and they can put it all together. James said Philly could be a surprise. Battle your Braves in the East there, because I think the Mets are going to fall along with the Dodgers. I think the Mets are going to fall. I think they're going to. I think the age and those pocketbooks are going to come into play on them. So, and DeGrom, I think DeGrom's going to be a big miss there. I know they signed a couple guys, but on the AL side, I hope a couple people are listening because I'm going to probably shock the heck out of everybody with, I think the Twins are going to struggle. I think they're going to come out 500 if best, but I think towards the end of the year they're going to struggle unless they can find some pitching. So, who's ever friends with a certain somebody, you could put this on there and send it to them, and I'm telling you, the Twins are going to struggle. On the other hand, just because they're a young team and they're shipping off everybody because they're getting ready to move, I think Oakland might surprise a lot of people. I think the youth, they're going to be out there and be like, hey, everybody's doubting us. Everybody thinks we're going to move. I think it's going to be kind of like a major league movie in the making where, they're probably going to fall at the end of the year, but I think they're going to surprise some people at the beginning. Probably a couple months in, I think we're going to be talking, are these Oakland A's for real? So those are my surprise.
Why not?
Why not, right? Why not? Well, James, I know, on the AL side, you mentioned the Baltimore Orioles because last year they were kind of still one of those surprise teams. They kind of stuck around until the very end of it.
Mhm.
However, they lost Trey Mancini, which to them was kind of a big loss, but they also have one of the best young catchers in the game. And so, and I think this year he takes a step forward, and so I'm gonna say, and I usually butcher his last name, but it's like Rousing or however, yeah, Roshman. Yeah, so like you could potentially put him as a top 3 catcher. And by the end of the year, I'm not saying he will be, but by the end of the year, he could be close to being the best catcher in baseball. But I still don't think it's going to be quite enough for Baltimore because I think that Baltimore still needs pitching. I don't think they're quite there yet. But I guess a surprise team this year only because I truly feel like maybe now they have the right manager as the Texas Rangers. I feel like they're going to actually be on the uphill like a good team this year, so I think they're going to actually surprise some people with Bruce Bochy as manager. Yeah. He knows his stuff, and like he's a great manager. So I think that the Texas Rangers are going to be one of those surprise teams for the good, definitely. For the bad in the American League, I really had to think about this because I'm like, what team could take that like giant leap backwards that was so good last year that at least made the playoffs last year. And so what?
Tampa or Cleveland?
Yeah, so I was kind of right there with you on that. I actually went with Cleveland. I think that the Guardians actually take a step backwards this year. I think they're going to be that surprising team that's just not going to be as good because they actually shocked a lot of people last year. Nobody was expecting the Guardians to be that good. A lot of people actually had the Twins being better last year. A lot of people had the White Sox being better, but the White Sox last year could not stay healthy. That was the biggest issue with the White Sox. They were injury riddled all season long. Their pitching staff wasn't healthy. I think the White Sox could take a big step forward this year. They're back to being healthy again. So on the American League side, those are my picks. On the NL side, for a team that could struggle, I am right there with you, James. I do believe it is going to be the Dodgers, and it's not because I'm a Dodger hater, which yes, everybody knows I am. But still, when it comes to it, I still think they're going to be one of those teams that is going to regress, only because I feel like they lost a lot of key pieces. Mm-hmm. I know, they lost Scherzer.
Tyler Anderson.
What?
Left-handed starting pitcher Tyler Anderson.
Yeah, they lost Anderson. They lost Scherzer. They lost Trey Turner. They lost Justin Turner. They lost Cody Bellinger. I mean, and they actually didn't go out and sign a lot of guys. Is the thing. They really didn't.
Martinez for a DH role.
And so this could be a year that they actually do regress, that they may not be as good as people think they're going to be. And I think a lot of people are going to be okay with it. I really think a lot of people are going to be happy if they do come out and struggle. I do believe that the West is going to be the Padres division.
Hopefully.
I really do. I think the West this year goes through the Padres, and then of course you have the bottom feeders with the Giants. I don't think they're going to be that good, and then the Rockies. The Rockies were another team last year that started out like hot. They started out on fire, and then they just regressed. They just couldn't keep it going. But
I
I
heard
will
their GM say, I think GM or owners say we hope to get to 500 this year.
well, that would be a good goal for them.
Yeah, it's realistic at least.
But I
They have
do.
a lot of prospects, though. They have a lot of good prospects, but they're not ready yet.
And I would love to see, off the Giants, I would love to see Logan Webb be somewhere else. Logan Webb needs to go somewhere else. He's their best pitcher. He's a great pitcher. He does need to go elsewhere. But so I said the teams that could be bad. I'm sorry, James. I can't go with the Pirates on the good side. I can't. I just can't.
Good for a month.
Good for a month.
And
Okay.
then-
So you clarified and said, okay, they're going to be good for a month, and then they're going to regress. So
then he didn't fall.
yeah, it's I don't know, man. It's right there. It's going to be interesting. A team that could be good but not going to be great. A team that could finish around the 500 mark is the Chicago Cubs. They're not going to be a great team, but they're going to be decent. They did pick up some key pieces, but for anybody who's saying how good Dansby is, okay, you got.
He was your MVP last year. Come on.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
have
he
a
was
weird
our
mix
MVP.
of players with the Cubs. You know, they got free agent Marcus Stroman, and I thought he was going to go to a winner like the Mets.
Yeah.
But some reason he chose the money to go there. They unloaded. Wilson Contreras is with the Cardinals now? I want to say.
Yeah, he went to the
Yeah, he
Cardinals,
is.
I
He's
believe.
with the Cardinals
Sounds
now.
weird. Yeah, they brought in Swanson for all this money. They got Bellinger. They have this weird mix of players. It's just
Right.
not sustainable. You know what I mean? It's going to be a while before they contend with the Cubs.
Well, the Brewers could be another team this year too that takes another big step forward.
I think so. I think down.
You think down?
Yeah, they're starting to kind of regress, especially Yelich, and whatever they built, they're starting to lose little by little.
Yeah, and
They do have a great pitching staff, though. They do have a great starting pitching staff.
They do.
The offense is going to be the Achilles heel.
Yeah.
Their freaking starting pitching staff is ridiculous,
Yeah.
man. They're like their top three pitchers were all Cy Young candidates, and I was like, that's freaking nuts. You barely ever see that, and I think the funny thing is like last year, if you remember, when the Brewers traded their starting closer, and then everybody like laughed because they're like, why'd they trade him? And then they trade him to San Diego, and then he starts sucking it up, and everyone's like, okay, so they kind of knew what they were doing by trading this guy away.
Well, even on San Diego side too, we're like, what the heck are you trading your closer for right now?
And they brought him back for this season.
Oh yeah, right, yeah. So I guess we're right there on board. So I guess we're all definitely getting excited for baseball to start. It's coming right around the corner. We're definitely waiting for it. For those of you who want to watch football, don't forget that the XFL starts this weekend. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. I'm definitely ready for it.
Is it the USFL starting?
Nope. The XFL is starting this weekend. The USFL starts in end of March, beginning of April.
Oh, okay. I saw a commercial during the Super Bowl, and I didn't know which one it was.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna watch it. I'm footballed out. I'm done.
What?
Except the Oregon Cougars. I'm watching that.
Okay, but other than that,
I can't do any more.
I can't do it anymore. All right.
After the ref screwed up the Super Bowl, I'm good.
All
Yeah,
right.
we didn't even talk about that. Yeah.
No, I think we're all Super Bowled out. Anyway,
See?
well, just Super Bowled out. I'm not footballed out.
The
But
wrong team
anyway.
won too.
But anyways, all right. Well, we're at that mark now to where we can start wrapping everything up. So, Big B, we'll turn this to you. Any final thoughts for you, sir?
Nah, glad to jump on, talk. Glad Chrissy Wilson jumped on, left some comments. Just keep checking out C2C all week long. We got something new. And again, like we mentioned before, check Inside the Cougars Den weekly, Wednesdays, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock Central. We're going to kind of just break down the Cougars season and have a little learning going on too. So check that out.
Okay. All right. So, James Gonzalez, how about you, sir?
Yeah, I need to check that out because I need to check out what the Cougars are running and all that. I need to get some knowledge for myself. Stupid Chiefs, stupid refs. I really want the Eagles to win, and I can't stand the Chiefs being good. With the Raiders continuing to do things like this, with not getting anything for Carr and all that, it's just more bad publicity. Never any good anymore,
More bad publicity.
Never any good, pub. But hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we definitely want to thank you for hopping on. Big B, thank you again for being on the show. It was another very fun episode. We got to cover a lot of topics tonight. A lot of great talk tonight. Anywhere from football to NBA to baseball and everything in between. We love it. We love it. And I know Big B is getting tired. James getting tired. Myself, I'm getting tired too. Anyway, we definitely want to thank everybody for watching, and we will catch everybody next week for another episode of SportsMinute. So have a fantastic night.